Welcome back to Lights, Camera, Whatever. It is Ray here. We are jumping into another Taiwanese film. And remember, all the Taiwanese films that I will introduce and dramas will be having English subtitles. So this is called Lost in Perfection. This will be on Netflix, called Lost in Perfection. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump directly into the description. It says, TV anchor life unravels. I always like this word. When she discovers her dad become the victim of a romance scam. It's already juicy. It's already lights, camera, whatever. Making matters worse, the scammer is accused of murdering men she dated, and the anchor teams with the local prosecutor to investigate the crime. This is an interesting movie. I always like these kind of like movies that have like these love twists and these, criminal situations. First of all, when I was younger, when I was in high school, my mom, I grew up in a big city. So my mom would say, look, do whatever you want to do, but be home Thursday night for CSI, which was absolutely crazy because there were so many interesting shows on TV. But she always demanded that I be home for CSI on Thursday. I will never forget that. So since high school, I kind of really been interested into just anything about crime. So when I saw the description of this, of course I had to jump into it. Now, you know what we do? We're going to jump into some really juicy questions. If a president doesn't have a spouse, is he or she less presidential? This is crazy because the president of the country I'm in right now is called Taiwan. She is not married. And I think it's absolutely fine. I think that, when you see all the news about the presidents out in the world and the first lady and then the first, I don't even know what you call it if the president has a husband, the first man, if that's an official term, please help me out. I think sometimes it's fake, right? I think they're just kind of, showboating or proving to the world that everything is stable. And, guys, these are real people. Like it doesn't matter if you're a president of a country. You're a human. So you probably have some, situations or some imperfections in your relationship that, normal people have. But because of your status, because of your current status quo, which makes you the president of a country, you're not allowed to have mistakes. And if you have a mistake, stock markets drop, the weather becomes gloomy, everything changes just because of your status. So if a president doesn't have a spouse, is she or he less presidential? My answer for that one would be no. It would be no. I think that with, people being, from a cultural perspective, right? People being rushed into marriages and people being coerced into marriages because of age limits or cultural, traditions or whatever, or time is a killer. I don't blame people for getting into divorces, and I don't blame people for, even thinking about it, right? But I don't like how some of my friends here who are suffering in their marriage, this is males and females, and they're just like, no, I can't divorce. I'm like, well, you have an entire life ahead of you. Like, could you really just go home to the same person that you're not really happy with? And I'm not diving too deep into the divorce side. I'm going to dive more into the direction of expectations that we have of people, right? And what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do based on how we feel and how happy we are, right? That's the dangerous part, right? It's like, wait, you're a president. You got to be married. This is absolutely wrong. I'm a person who's never really kind of dived into titles. I believe you prove yourself and that's enough. So I don't think a person is less presidential if they're not married. Number two, would you encourage your parents to remarry if they are single too long? So the audience out here, this is Teacher Ray, so you know who I am. My parents are divorced, and I'm not really super angry about it because whoever made a mistake on whatever side, I'm not pointing fingers. That's what happened. Me and my sisters, we are adults. So whatever you guys decide, as long as you're happy and nobody's hurting each other or causing, pain to each other, financially and physically. So for me, if my mom says she met a handsome guy, whatever. As long as she is happy. And as the only son of my family, I will be monitoring. I will be checking everything about this guy. I'm sorry. And if you're listening to this and you like my mom, because When I went back, I just got back from Atlanta, and when some guys were kind of flirting with her, I didn't say anything. I don't block the love, but I will research you. So be ready for that. But I would never say remarry. I won't encourage them to remarry. I will encourage them just to be simply happy. That's all. Just be happy. I don't want to push anybody to remarry if they just got out of a divorce within 5 years or 10 years. I don't want to do that. Just be happy. Don't rush into anything. So I would not encourage my mom to remarry. Now, for my dad, whatever, he's a man. Let him do what he want to do. But I think it's different when you have a mom versus a dad. Men make crazy decisions. Women, they kind of make more conscious decisions. So I don't worry too much about my mom. Now, number 3, what do you do if you feel something wrong with your parents' new partner? Now, I did mention that I would not encourage her to remarry, but if she had a new partner and I felt something was wrong with that partner, like I said, I will become a PI. I will become a personal private investigator and find out what's really going on with this guy. Because remember, guys, these are not your friends, right, from high school and college. This is your mother. This is your father, right? They are connected to your family. And if they try to marry into your family, whatever belongs to you could go to this complete, absolute stranger. Please be mindful of that. So what to do if you feel something wrong? For me, Teacher Ray, I would just monitor. The only thing you can do is just monitor more closely, but not make it obvious so, you can see what's going on. So if something was wrong with my parents' new partner, mom or dad, I would just watch closely, and I'm very good at reading people, and I know when people are lying. I've been good at it for a long time, since childhood to now. So I would just look further into the person. I teach you a phrase for Taiwanese listeners. We say keep at arm's length. That means you're close but not too close, right? I would keep this person at arm's length. I would not be their best friend. I wouldn't even make an attempt to allow them to think I wanted to be their friend. I wanted to know I want the distance to be visible. I would say that, especially when it's your parents, right? I'm very sensitive for people dating my family members. So, good luck for you out there, whoever's coming. Now, if you are the parent, when is the right time to tell your kids you will remarry? It depends. I was really excited about this episode because these are really, really sensitive situations. So let me kind of dive into this. If one of my parents hurt the other parent by an affair or some other situation, and they told me they wanted to remarry like 5-6 years later, I wouldn't say anything because you were hurt. Guys, and I have to tell you right now, I don't care what age you are. Everybody wants love. I'm not going to say you need love. I'm not going to say that. You deserve love, but you don't need it. These are two different differences when I say deserve and need. So if the parent, right, what is the right time to tell your kids? I think that has to go to that place on the left side of your chest called your heart. It really depends on that place. It depends on your heart. It depends on your heart. I know some people are probably touching their chest right now, like, oh, isn't it on the right side? It is on the left side of your body. So don't, I'm not Dr. Ray here. So for me, I don't think there's a proper time when to tell your kids. But I do say if your kids are adults or a teenager, please tell them. Don't surprise your kids and be like, I'm married. They're like, what? And that means that this person is connected to what belongs to you, right? Now, a parent has a right to pass down the inheritance to you or not. Just because you were someone's child does not mean it belongs to you. You could be a suck child. Seriously, there are a lot of terrible kids out there who didn't really want to take care of their kids, their parents, and that's what happened, right? And so the parents are like, oh, well, since you were a terrible child, I'm just going to give all the money to charity, and you can't be angry about that. Now, I'm not saying take care of your parents just because you want the inheritance. You should naturally want to take care of your parents. So just keep that in mind. I don't think there's a proper time when to tell your kids you will remarry, but I just hope that you consciously take a deeper thought process to break down and say, okay, is this the right person for me? Am I ready to get back into a marriage because I just came out of another marriage? So that's something that you have to consider. Now, if your parents told you they are dating someone after 6 months, would you be upset? If this was like 6 months after their marriage, that was probably with your parent. Guys, like I say, I don't like blocking people's happiness. Now, if it's like a really, really deep love, then that means there was something before the marriage was even ended with your mother or father. So if they told you they were dating someone, I would literally talk to my parent, my mom or my father, and say, hey, like, okay, well, who is this person? What do they do? And it will be an interview. It will be the other way around. You know how when you're younger, your parents interview you, but when your parents are older, you just switch around the interview and say, who is this guy? Who is this woman? She's like 30 years younger than you. Like, do you realize that? Or this guy is like really, really young. Like, I mean, did you tell him how much money you have in your account? Or, because guys, this is an ugly, ugly world. A lot of people have ideas, they have schemes, and I just need to know. I'm not going to automatically assume that the person is looking out for my parents' money, but I have to automatically be realistic. Right. If that's a description. If it's not, please quote me on that. I coined that. Because the thing is that you're letting someone in your family. And look, guys, okay, that was a very selfish statement. You're not letting them in your family. You are opening the gateway to your family, I guess, by not, being too, into what they're doing. So sometimes you kind of have to go back to that phrase, keep at arm's length. And sometimes that's exactly what you have to do. You have to kind of monitor, not be too difficult. But I'm going to be honest, guys. I mean, if you know me and you're my friend, I really suck at hiding my face, right? My emotions they're just there, right? It's like a movie in front of you. Like when I'm not happy with you or I'm not like in a good mood, like it's just visible because I'm always in a good mood. So when I'm not in a good mood, something's wrong. So I have to say, if you want to say, am I good at hiding? I suck at hiding my emotions. So whoever's the partner of my mom or my dad, I think they will feel it the moment they walk in the door. They will feel it from the questions that I ask. They will feel it even from my behavior because body gestures is a very fluent language for a lot of people around the world. So for me, dating is fine. Dating is fine. And I would really not stop my parents from remarrying, but I would not mind if they dated the rest of their lives. But when it gets into marriage, you're putting the other person in a position to take over what's part of your family, and anything could happen, right? So this goes, and I have some questions about this in the next episode, but we're going to keep it on this one this time, and I'll tell you why about that later. But there's anything could happen, and once they're married, there's nothing you can say at all. Unless there's a will already written, very clear, then everything is fine. They can do whatever they want. But if my parents told me, this is teacher Ray's opinion, right? If my parents told me they're dating right after half a year after they get, I would be fine, guys. I wouldn't say too much. Now, the next one says, would you give money to someone you randomly met? No, never. I mean, and I'm doing my best, guys, to not spoil the movie Lost in Perfection. And then you could still watch it, right? Because you don't know what I'm talking about, actually. I'm just extracting questions. That's why I love this show, Lights, Camera, whatever. Because you don't know where these questions are going to hit you once you watch. Now, would you give money to someone you randomly met? No. Guys, I don't care how beautiful, I'm speaking from my perspective. I don't care how beautiful the girl is or how talented and smart she is. There is no way out of the muscle that I have put into my company and providing for my kids and providing for my other family, which is like my mom and everyone else. No. Because it's just unfair that I know it's your money. I totally understand that. I know it's your money, but be realistic. This person just popped up in your life out of nowhere, started dating you a couple months, and now you're like, popping off dollars, right? You're giving this person stacks. And I'm going to tell you right now, like I'm a person who really can read people. So I don't care how beautiful or amazingly stunning the girl is. I will always be conscious of where my money's going, right? Because I got kids, I got family that I need to take care of. So any money going out that's not for them and not for my investment, it will be calculated. It will be monitored. And it has to be. Of course, you got to have a little bit of fun. You got to have a little bit of a life. But at the same time, if you have responsibilities, take care of that first. And somebody just kind of swoops in like a bird, and probably a raven. Ravens are smart. That was irrelevant, but anyway. And they just get the money from you, right? You give it to them actually willingly. Something is probably a little bit wrong with you, and you need to be a little bit more conscious. And maybe you should hire someone as a financial advisor to monitor your money, because this is a very unsafe situation, and you need to be really, really conscious about the situation. So would you give money to someone you randomly met? Now, I didn't add the other part to that one, because now what if your parents that gave the money, right? This is kind of more connected to the question. It's more for what if I would have to have a very, very long talk with my parent and say, hey, what exactly is your plan here? Like, what exactly are you doing? You don't really know this person, and you're kind of just giving off the money that you worked most of our childhood and my adulthood and your last 30, 40 years. You're just going to give it away to some random person. And the thing is, guys, I've been to many, many, nightclubs and bars and lounge bars. I've seen women in action. They know exactly what to say to some men. They know and vice versa. Some men know exactly what to say to a cougar, right? If you know what a cougar. So for a cougar, for the Taiwanese listeners, is an older woman who likes younger men. A cougar is an older woman who likes a younger man. And I personally like older women. I like mature women. But I don't like them because of their money. I like them because I like to have real conversations. And this generation right now that we're in is like, it's almost, guys, like I told you, I have a company called Arby's in English, and I go to cafes and I teach online, and I live in my world, but my headphones are not loud enough to block the sound around me. And what I mean is I hear everything and I see everything, even when I'm on online class. And I was in a cafe the other day, beautiful couple. And when I say beautiful, I'm talking about the guy and the girl. The guy was really handsome. The girl was really beautiful. And they walked in, they were shining and glowing. And I'm just minding my business. I was in the class with a student from Singapore. I love Singapore. And I said, wow, this is a really amazing couple. This is shining. As soon as they sit down, they order the food, the phones are out. No eye contact, nothing, just literally nothing. And I was just like, oh, that's such a waste. And I thought the guy, because for me, I'm not looking at guys because I like guys. I like guys' fashion. I'm always looking around for ideas, right? I love fashion. I always love fashion. I'm looking at girls because maybe in the future, when I find the one, I see some ideas of what I like when I go shopping, some private shopping. I like to shower and spoil sometimes for your partner. So I'm watching and I'm just looking like, wow, this is a really great couple. And they sat down and they didn't talk for 15 minutes. I knew that because they sat down at the start of my class. And then I looked at the calendar, I looked at the clock, and they still, and even the food came out. They took their pictures, they took their Instagrammable moments, and then right back to the phones. Guys, I can't live like that. I can't do that. If I'm out, if this is a date, we don't have to have a conversation every time. But if you know me and if you know my friends, most of my friends, I'll hang out with them like, Ray, you don't touch your phone all day. Of course I don't want to touch my phone. For what? To get sucked in? So not to deviate too far, that's kind of why I kind of like more older women, because they kind of have themselves together. They have their life together, right? They have their thoughts together and they're mature, right? I like mature. I like smart and intelligent. But back to the conversation at the bar, right? I see what's going on. I see what people are doing. They're planning. So that's why you always got to kind of monitor your parents and say, hey, what are you doing? Now, we're going to jump into two more. Should news reporting have an ethical bottom line not to not cross? There was an incident in Taiwan where a reporter twisted a foreigner's words and it just blew up. I think the foreigner said that Taiwan is super hot. And knowing news today is not about what you put, it's about who's first. He put like, oh, this guy doesn't like Taiwan. Now, I know there's plenty of Taiwanese who say the same exact statement as the foreigner, but because the way it was twisted, Taiwanese followed behind the news reporter and said, oh, this guy should get out of Taiwan. He's, blah, 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 blah. I think it was a Belgian Chinese YouTuber, whatever, and he got blasted online. But I like what this YouTuber did. He took his platform and searched about the reporter, right? And then blasted him back and said, oh, he is infamous. Infamous is bad. You're famous. Remember, infamous. You're famous for doing something bad. He's infamous for twisting stories and blowing things up and exaggerating things for viewership. And so he put that on now this news reporter is based in Taiwan, right? So he had his little crowd, but the YouTuber, right, he had an international crowd. So that totally backfired. So there should definitely be an ethical bottom line in what you report. Last one, if you rose to the ranks successfully on your own, should you help others or let them suffer? I will definitely help others. Guys, we learn to share. We learn to spread. Stop being jealous. Share your information and what you know. You don't need to share your expertise. At least share some of the details, right? So if you rose to the ranks to be successful on your own, would you help others or let them suffer? It depends on if it's kids or employees or coworkers. If it's kids, let them learn. Don't let them suffer, but let them learn. If it's coworkers, let them suffer a bit, but make sure you're teaching them along the way, as long as you don't have bad intentions. And that is part 1 for Lost in Perfection on Netflix. It does have English subtitles. Thank you for listening to part 1. Make sure you jump into part 2. See you guys next time.